Welcome back to episode 75 of Tall Boy Radio. Again, we're sticking with our new format. We'd love to hear your feedback on it. Let us know what you think, how it differed from the previous 70-odd episodes that we did. We'd love to hear from you what you think about it. Hopefully you're enjoying it, because we're certainly enjoying doing it. So without further ado, shall we say hi hellos?
Yeah, hi guys. Brilliant. Enjoyed the sort of the new format. Enjoyed where it can go. And tonight I am drinking, I don't know if you can quite see it, Asahi, which I think is a first for me on the podcast. I've drank Asahi before. I think it's the first on the podcast. 5.2%, so middle of the road, but pretty tasty. And there's a reason why I chose Asahi, but that will be revealed later.
Very good, very good. Andy?
Well, I'm on a salt brewery. I cat DDH Dipper. I'll put it in review. It's not too bad. Says it's a tropical and smooth 8%, but just like a double dipper, isn't it?
Yeah, love them. What's DDH? Is that double dry hopped? Does that stand for, doesn't it?
I think so.
Yeah.
I did try to have a quick glance when I couldn't see it.
No, I think it is double dry hop. I don't know exactly what that means, but I'm guessing they do the dry hop process twice.
Double dip.
Yeah. Hey. And for myself, I am drinking a beer from Glen Affric Brewery called Baltic Mutiny, and it is a whiskey barrel aged Baltic porter that comes in at 13.4%. Now,
it's a beauty.
It is a beauty. It's a strong one, and I tell you, I read a review actually on Tapped that it was like Christmas in a glass. Somebody called it, and I said to you before we started, it smells like Christmas cake. And it does taste like port.
it definitely smelled like port. No.
Yes, it's not as thick or as heavy as I was expecting. Actually, it's a little bit lighter for that strength, but it's a decent beer.
So you don't need like a knife and fork to put into it.
No, I'm not going to be having it with white sauce.
No.
So I picked this one actually because last week we were talking about expensive beers and then went down one of our famous left turns, didn't we, and started talking about strong beers. So I thought I'd best get myself a strong beer, seeing as we were recording on a Monday night, because there's a certain game of football that people want to watch.
Yeah, there's a certain game of football. The Euros are on, and obviously England play Germany tomorrow night. So it kicks off at 5. So I thought, actually, we normally record about 8, but you never know, depending on what the result's like, whether or not. But I'll be watching that. I'm assuming Andy will be watching it as well.
Might partake.
Yeah, there you go.
Anyone brave enough to make a prediction, given that we're recording this before the result and it will be known by the time it goes out?
England 3-1.
Andy?
Let's say Germany 2-1.
Oh, right. I'll go for 2-2 penalties.
Germany win. Yeah. Don't say that. Honestly, I couldn't bear. Like, if they beat us on penalties again, that would just be awful.
Yeah, it'd be predictable, if I'm right.
Yeah.
You never know. It could be another stonking 5-1 win. So who will be the Emil Heskey of that game? I don't know.
Even Emil Heskey scored.
Even Emil Heskey. So go on then, guys. You said you were drinking Asahi for a reason. Did you want to fire straight into that?
Yeah, just a couple of bits on Asahi, really. And I said to Ad before we sort of started recording, I wasn't sure whether to put this in the news bit or my A for around the world, all markets, and actually A for Asahi. So a couple of bits from Asahi, really, which is weird because I've drank Asahi before and really enjoy it, but I didn't quite realise that they were as popular as they are. And I was doing a bit of research, and it was talking about basically that there's a company brands report, and they do sort of questioning, and they go around and see all the top bars from around the world, and this and that. And actually, Asahi was ranked number 1 in the bars that this company sort of vetted, and it came up with 18% of bars that said that they preferred, and basically they had Asahi. And I was a bit like, wow, I didn't realise that. I didn't realise they were that sort of popular and stuff. And actually, what I also didn't realise was that the Asahi group actually own Peroni as well. So that was something that I didn't know. And basically, Asahi was number 1 and Peroni was number 2. And they took a poll of 106 of the best bars around the world. Now, to get one to be classed as one of the best bars, you have to win awards. So it's not just some tin pot bar from wherever. These are all bars that have won various awards, prestigious awards. And what they do is they collate all of that and effectively they make a list of the most popular, the best, however they describe it. And Asahi came out on top. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't expect that. And I didn't know they'd been around for that long. I didn't know they were that popular. Do you know what I mean? And it's weird because we said before recording, and I'd said, would you take Asahi over Peroni? And I was like, yeah, I probably would actually. And we were talking about that. So, Andy, have you ever had Asahi? Or was it too weak for you or not?
Yeah, I've had it before. It's not too bad. I think I have it. Might have been a Thai place or somewhere like that.
Yeah.
I've had it. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just weird. So you got basically Asahi 1, Peroni 2, and then you got Corona 3, Heineken 4, and there was a couple of the Brewdog was on the list. And they were talking about particularly historical craft beers actually struggling to get into the market of these sort of highbrow bars just because they market it as come in for a drink and then drink cocktails for the rest of the night. Effectively, that's what happens. It's like actually the drinks are sort of pre-cocktail drinks. But yeah, so that was the first bit of Asahi that I had. The second bit was that a couple of sporting bits to do with Asahi. They have been selected to sponsor the Rugby World Cup. I think it was 2023. I think the Rugby World Cup in France. They're going to be the official partners, and also London Pride, which is a beer that you said you drank, Ad.
Yeah.
Which again is part of the Asahi group. I've actually teamed up with the Lions, so the Lions Tour, Rugby Union Tour. So there was a bit to do with Asahi there. Then one last bit that I was going to talk about was their venture, because we mentioned it last week. I think the seltzer. Well, briefly mentioned the seltzer sort of market, and actually Asahi have launched into the seltzer market with their Viper hard seltzer. And it's weird because Ad just brought a newspaper and it was basically in there. And he's like, "Oh, have you heard?" I was like, "Well, actually, strangely enough, yes, as part of my research, I have." So there's just 3 or 4 bits to do with Asahi there that I just thought might be a bit interesting just to sort of throw out there. So if you like your Asahi, then spot on. They're obviously doing something well.
Yeah. Have you tried seltzers?
No, you?
Yeah, I've tried the Bud Light one, and I've tried Mike's Hard Lemonade, and I think I tried White Claw when I was in Vegas just because I saw it. I didn't know what it was. I thought this looks interesting. I'm not a fan. It's just like fizzy water with a bit of booze in it, but it just predominantly tastes like fizzy water.
And he's definitely not tried any. Look at that.
No, have you tried them, Andy? No.
I don't know whether they appeal, if I'm honest.
Fizzy water just appeal to me.
Carbonated water. It's all it is, I suppose. I don't know. So no, I haven't tried seltzers. But it was interesting that obviously there's the move for various companies towards that market. Obviously, particularly in America as well. The seltzer market in America is huge, isn't it? So that's interesting. But yeah, so that was my bit really for Asahi, and I say whether it's sort of goes into news bit or the A for all markets. We'll let the listeners decide.
That's it. Yeah, feedback on that one. Andy, have you got any news for us this week?
Yes, somewhat brief. Belgians drank 19% less beer in 2020. Obviously, it was a bad year for everyone. 20% less, which is quite a number because I think I've drank 20% more.
I was going to say you're making up for that, are you?
Yeah, you've ordered the overflow, haven't you?
Oh, definitely. It's been worth it.
That's mad. Generally, you think during when people are having a bad time, if I've had a bad day at work, the first thing I want, beer.
Yeah.
To be fair, if I've had a good day at work, normally the first thing I want is also beer, but that's by the by.
Just one thing I've just seen there that just a bit of news, and it's slightly outdated because it's a couple of months ago, but they reckon that UK pubs will miss out on 14 million pints when it's on St. Patrick's Day, basically due to COVID. So 14 million pints.
Oh, wow.
Which is like quite a sizable amount.
Yeah.
And when you think, obviously, the hit that would have on the industry and this, that, and the other, £54 million, they reckon that equates to.
Wow. I've been to Dublin on St. Patrick's Day.
Okay.
And it is quite a celebration. if you can get served, if you're in like that Temple Bar region or just any of the central places near where the parade runs through, then it's an absolute nightmare. You are queuing for a long time because you know how long you have to wait for a pint of Guinness anyway. Yeah. They take it very, very seriously. Don't get me wrong, they prep them.
I was going to say, don't they just have like literally a guy just pouring Guinness and they're literally just sending them down the bar?
They do, but keeping up with demand is something else. And actually, Andy, you're a big fan of Father Ted. The person who was at the head of the parade when I went, so you could probably work out what day it was Mrs. Doyle. Mrs. Doyle being driven along in a green convertible, which is very exciting for me.
Is she dressed as Mrs. Doyle as well?
I don't know. I was at the bar. I'll be honest, I missed it. I was trying to get myself a pint of Guinness. Little bit of news then from me. Gaz mentioned the rugby there, and I'm woefully inept when it comes to rugby. Former Saracens captain Alistair Hargreaves, are you familiar with him?
I probably know the face. I can't place it at the moment. If you show me a photo of him, I'd probably recognise him.
Okay. Well, I must admit, it's nobody I was that familiar with. And his teammate, Chris Wiles, well, obviously they don't play anymore. And they've set up 3 bars now called, I think, the Wolfpack bars. I don't know if that's a rugby-related term. I would imagine it probably is. But they, again, have been affected by COVID because they had a microbrewery and they produced a whole load of beer, which they then could not sell through their bars. Right. And they were told that they would have to write off 5,000 beers, just literally tip it away to get the duty back on it.
Wow.
But fair play to them. And why they haven't done it locally around here, what they said was, we're not going to do that. We're not going to tip it away. We're going to give it away. So they drove round every Friday night delivering 5,000 free pints to people.
Impressive.
That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is an act of generosity, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just wish that Allsage would have been, and Stockport for Andy, would have been on their route.
That would have been cool. Come over here, sunshine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. I'd say written off as as a tax rebate at some point. Or
whatever.
Yeah,
no doubt. Yeah.
So there's obviously some ulterior motive. Yeah. But I like the idea.
But yeah, you gotta like the magnanimous nature of it. And another bit of news, actually, Gaz. It's the latest. This is one for you.
Go on.
It's the latest craze on TikTok.
Oh God.
Now I know you've done a dance video on TikTok, haven't you?
One bad one that will remain hidden.
There's no way we can get it on our YouTube feed.
There's probably is a way.
Okay.
It's not, well, whether it's happened or not, I don't know yet. But
no, it hasn't yet. I haven't yet. But I'm just thinking we're around your house for your daughter.
Yes,
16 soon, so I might have to try and persuade her to Bluetooth that one over.
Yeah, she won't need too much persuasion.
Yeah, but this craze is getting yourself into beer commercials and beer adverts, and it has something in the region of 50 million hits. Yeah, 50 million hits. And there is, if you hashtag it beer poster, that's what you have to do to get on there. Is there anything? Are you familiar with TikTok, Andy?
No. Well, I know what it is. I mean, it sends TikTok things all the time, but it's a bit too cringy for me.
The thing is, you say cringy, but it has just proper exploded.
That's insane.
Like, it is ridiculous, and like everybody, and it's one of those, if you go back a few years, you got Facebook, you got Twitter, and then it like Instagram and Snapchat and stuff, and all of a sudden now TikTok, it is just ridiculous.
It is. I think the next big one for us to exploit would be Clubhouse. Are you familiar with that one?
No.
It's available on iOS and it's just coming to Android now. I think it's still invite only on Android. I don't know about Apple. So basically, it's ideal for podcasters because you go into a room, you listen to people talk, you can converse with them. So we could set up our own room to talk about the different beers and things. We can almost do our podcast live on there and get people feeding back, which might be an interesting way to do it in the future.
Yeah, okay.
So that's one to look at. And then finally, last bit of news from me, because Gaz kicked it all off about 2 weeks ago talking about low ABV. Well, there is a company called Hop and Hemp Brewing Company. Okay. And you think you can probably figure out where I'm going with this. Instead of putting alcohol in their beer, they've been doing CBD infused beer. So there's no THC in it, so there's none of the hallucinogenics or anything like that in it. You're not going to get high from drinking it. But they said it's got there in 330 mils of beer, there is 8 milligrams of CBD, and it's literally to take the edge off. Is that something you'd be interested in trying?
I'd rather a couple of beers. Well, yeah, why not? I'll give it a go.
What about yourself, Andy? Was that something we should be trying on the podcast, do you think?
Medicinal beer? Yes, please.
Yeah. I'd like to try it out of curiosity. I would. Apparently, they've managed to develop it in a way that you don't get the taste of hemp to it, so it's not overpowering.
Okay. Yeah. Why not?
Yeah, I think it's something when it becomes available, we definitely need to try. So, ABC Beer, as you mentioned it, let's hear about your A.
Effectively, sort of the ADR markets, and I'm going to mention a bit of basically a bit of BrewDog just because they've had a little bit of negative press, and we've highlighted it over the last couple of podcasts and stuff. But they were doing a campaign, and they started throughout 2021. Basically, they've done a campaign in conjunction and connection with the Eden Project, and basically they're going to try and plant 1 million new trees. They're going to try and look after the environment. They're going to try and promote the sort of green side of them, which is a bit weird when you think again about what we spoke about troubles that they've had in their business and stuff. But so in partnership with Eden Project, and it's focused on native tree planting and ecosystem restoration. So amidst all of the negative sort of press that they've had, they are looking at trying to promote some positivity, and the launch of the buy one get one tree as opposed to buy one get one free, and I quite like that play on words and stuff. But I just thought, amidst a bit of a difficult time for BrewDog, that might be that's a sort of a worthwhile sort of news story. And then the other one, which I'm just looking for now, if you just bear with me, was we've spoke about 0% beers and low alcohol, and Desperados have done one, or Desperados have launched one.
Have they really?
So Desperados Virgin 0% enters the global market. And again, that was on the back of figures and statistics saying that, lots and lots and lots of companies are now releasing 0% or low alcohol. And that was launched earlier on in the year. But Desperados Virgin 0% is a major strategic step. So that was a couple of bits. One other thing, and I'm curious because I think you might have tried this beer, and if I'm just going to try and find it. So there's a company in America called Mother Earth Brewing Company, and they do a Rail Jam Hazy IPA, and it's due to be released late April 2021. No ABV at the moment, and I haven't tried it. I'm not sure whether either of you have, but I'm pretty sure that you might have tried the Coconut Cake Imperial Stout, or maybe it might be something slightly similar.
I've had a coconut beer, and I must admit it was a coconut stout, and it was really good.
Yeah, so the Mother Earth one, Mother Earth Coconut Imperial Stout, and that comes in at 11.8% ABV, so obviously quite a hearty one. Now that was released late March 2021, and I thought you might have tried it, but maybe it was another one. So so that in terms of the A, there's a couple of some new releases. If there's anybody out there that's tried the sort of hazy IPA, then shout us up. Andy, I don't know, have you tried any of the sort of Mother Earth stuff or not?
I might have to though.
To be fair, I mean the 11.8. There's a couple of others that have been released, and the only other one was there's a Mother Earth Flawless Imperfection Project X series, and then one last one, which was and I quite like the name, is the Benevolent Overlord, which was a pretty cool name, to be fair.
So I might change my name by default to that.
But so that comes in at 12.2% as well. That was released again earlier on in the year. So, but that's just for me, really, just little bit of a wind up of a couple of new releases, a bit of the A for all markets, and then a little bit of positivity surrounding BrewDog.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, that tree scheme that you talked about, that has been offered as one of part of their perks of the equity for punks. We've been looking into that recently, haven't we, Andy?
Yeah, that's decent.
Yeah, have you purchased any shares in BrewDog as of yet?
Not yet. The only shares I've been buying is a small beer to be consumed.
Yeah. Do you not think it's a pretty decent time to do it though?
I think, what did we say was 25 quid is what you're paying per share at the moment. So the minimum you can buy, I think, is 2 shares. So it's a 50 quid investment, but that does get you a fair bit. It gives you money off. I think it's 5% off all all purchases for life, as long as you've got the shares, obviously. You get the tree named after you in their forest, which is going to then have a bar and an area where you can go camping next to it, enjoy a beer and a picnic, which is all rather good. And there are quite a few perks in it. And then once you're hooked into the idea of buying a few, you then get offered like an extra bit, so you can get a 10-pack of beer if you buy 4 more shares and so on. They're quite canny at getting you involved in that way. Go on, Andy. Give us your Belgian news.
So to tie it in with the episode, it's bacon beer. So
bacon beer.
There's a place called Huggy's Bar, and they work in partnership with this brasserie, CA Brasserie, in the centre of Liège. And it's this 6% light beer with bacon flavour and a subtle smoky taste.
Oh, yeah.
And the people that made it were saying, like, they thought it was going to be dead greasy and like, and have a horrible like aftertaste, but they said it's quite a smooth beer, but it's ideal to have with like a chicken and bacon burger. It's a limited edition thing though. It's like 9th of June in 11 bars.
Oh, fair play.
Yeah, it's bacon beer. Sounds wrong.
It does, but there is
meat and beer.
Meat and beer. There is that theory that bacon makes everything better. There's nothing that can't be made better by adding bacon, but I'm not sure beer is necessarily on that list.
No.
Bacon.
Yeah. Well, there was one I was going to mention later, actually, when we get onto the weird flavoured beers. And I drank it on the podcast, actually. And it was episode 52, which is the Just Look What You Could Have Won when Dave joined us from Double Trouble. And I had the 9% Tiny Rebel Imperial Honey Glazed Ham Marshmallow Porter. Oh, it was bad.
Yeah.
It was bad.
I can't remember. There was definitely one that you'd said, not good.
Yeah, it tasted of ham. It just tasted like beer with ham sat in it.
But is that not the point? Because it's a ham-flavoured beer. So if you put a ham-flavoured beer and it tasted of fish, you'd be like...
You'd have issues.
You'd have issues, wouldn't you? Because it doesn't taste like ham.
Yeah, I don't know. The funny thing is, though, I expected it to be blended with the taste of beers. I could taste that marshmallow stout or porter, I think it was. And don't get me wrong, that was particularly good, though. The flavours that I could pick out of that and my rather underdeveloped palate was really quite good. But it just tasted like the ham was sat in the beer rather than it was all blended in. I did not enjoy it at all.
Maybe if you cut the can in half, it would be like a big tube of Spam with a hole cut.
There's a delightful thought. Beer served in a glass or a vessel made of ham. Oh,
interesting.
I'll let you try that one, Andy.
You could be the taste tester for that one. To be fair, if it's alcohol, he probably would refuse it. He'd probably say, that's fine.
It would kill any germs and stuff, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would kill a lot of things, I suspect. So again, with myself doing the sort of the craft beer, I wanted to theme it like Andy said, talking about different flavourings of beer. And one of my favourite things is a fruit flavoured beer, as I've often mentioned on here. Love the Mongozo banana, much to the chagrin of you two. I know you're not big fans. I love pineapple flavoured beers, which I know Gaz isn't a fan of. But my favourite fruit flavoured beer is obviously Titanic Plum Porter. I mentioned it before, and when we had Ian on TBR 44 talking about brewing his own beer, which you mentioned last week, Andy, didn't you? The guy brewing his own beer, he disappointed me massively by saying that Titanic just make a basic porter and then add plum essence to it after, which was disappointing to hear.
Yeah.
But that said, I've been looking into it, and that isn't that uncommon. When Albis Juice was first produced, they actually did a thing because they were making it with fresh grapefruits.
Yeah.
So in the Brewdog bars, when they first launched it, you could turn up with a grapefruit, hand over your grapefruit, and get yourself a free pint of Albis Juice. And then the grapefruit you had taken in was shipped up back to Ellen in Scotland and put into the beer.
There you go, see?
Which is crazy. But now, because it is such a popular beer, they just can't get enough grapefruit for that. So they use a grapefruit essence, which, because it is so concentrated to get it into the beer and the quantity that they buy it in, it actually says, caution. It's basically poisonous to humans if you consume it at that level. Obviously, once it's in the beer, it's fine. Please don't sue us, Brewdog. We love you. But yeah, that's quite an interesting thought. And going back to the first episode that we did in the beer format, episode 73, when we talked about the Tropic Gamma that has been done by Beavertown. Now, they do it, and for me, is what I expect out of a fruit beer. They add the pulp of the guava, the pink papaya, mango, mandarin, and peach, and they add it during the fermentation.
Yeah.
So it really flavours that beer, and obviously it's a strongish beer. It's, I think, 5.6. Did we say it was something like that?
So at what point does the quantities that they need to produce then become incredibly difficult to then get that much quantity of the fruit flavoured?
It's a good question, because I thought that actually when I was reading about it, because the thing is about Beavertown, obviously they aren't as large as Brewdog,
no,
but they're still
sizable.
You'll see them in Sainsbury's and everywhere you go. So whether the Tropagamo will be done in a smaller quantity and not available everywhere, I don't know.
He says, because was it last year? Was it last year? Back in last year, didn't Beavertown open? Was it the biggest brewery in London or something? I'm sure I read somewhere that they opened one.
Again, like we talked about, I forget who owns it. It might be Heineken. It's got a 49% stake in them. So they are a pretty large concern.
But it's just the, I suppose again, is that how much do you need to produce to stay true to your roots in terms of actually we're going to add the fruit, or now we physically can't get that much bulk in, so therefore effectively you're going to go down we're going to do the essence route and add it later. I don't know how much, what quantity do you have to sell?
I don't know. We'll find out, I guess. We'll have to look into that story. At the moment, certainly they add the fruit into it,
right? And
the sugars from that obviously help to turn into alcohol as well. So obviously by adding the essence as well, you're going to be changing the way that beer is really produced, aren't you? Because the beer itself needs to be stronger once it's just an essence used, I would imagine, because fructose, glucose, and sucrose sugars. I'll edit that one out, folks. Fructose, glucose, and sucrose sugars, they're the three types of sugar that are found in fruit, and fruit typically has about 10 to 15% sugar. So it will sweeten that beer, and obviously some of that will turn to alcohol. Interesting enough, when I was looking into it, because this fascinated me then about adding lactose sugars into the milk stout that I had last time, lactose sugars don't ferment into alcohol.
Okay.
And that's the acid and the sugars that comes from cow's milk.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that doesn't ferment into alcohol. The other type of fruit beers, which we've not tried on this part, Andy? These are commonly Belgian beers. Do you like a lambic fruit ale?
I've had them. I don't particularly choose them though.
No, so it's a sour beer, and this one is slightly different. It's beer fermented with a mix of yeasts and bacteria, which converts the sugars, and the fruit sugars that is, into a lactic acid, which gives it a nice sour taste. So if you like sour sweets, it works in the same. You don't like sour sweets?
I don't like sour sweets. I thought you were going to say sour beers. I was like, no.
No. You surprised me.
No. There's a couple in particular, but no, not sours for me.
Yeah, so those are the different types of fruit in beer. And I did find it quite interesting. Actually, while I was researching that on Sunday, I was drinking, as I shared on Twitter, a Disco Forklift Truck Mango Pale Ale, which was a decent one by Drygate Brew, and that was 5.1, and it really, really tasted a mango. You okay with mangoes in beer?
Yeah, I don't mind it.
Yeah, it was good.
Don't mind it.
I try that one. I picked that one up from Sainsbury's.
To be honest, there's a couple. I think the pineapple bit, I'm not a massive pineapple fan, particularly on pizza. But it's weird because I suppose, and again, this is a follow-on for a podcast. If you blindfolded me and went, taste that beer, I'd be like, oh, actually, that was quite fruity. That was quite nice. You'd be like, let's go pineapple in. I'd be like, but without knowing that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is a bit. I think if I know it's got it in, if I know it's got pineapple in it, then I think I just go down the route of I don't like pineapple, so I'm not going to like the beer. Whereas I think if you blindfolded me and just went taste that, I'd be like, oh, yeah, okay, is that pineapple? Is that not pineapple? Do you know what I mean? And I wonder whether or not that might be quite interesting, because you'll go, actually, the one that you really liked has got pineapple in it.
We may have to do that. We'll get some lambic ales in as well, and then slip in amongst them the Duchess.
I reckon I could probably recognise the Duchess.
Yeah.
Possibly.
I think you probably could.
I think I probably could, yeah. Although whether I could recognise it from Sarson's is
another matter.
Is another matter, yeah.
That's it. It was a very strange beer, wasn't it, that time?
It was a
let us know, Duchess de Bourgogne. If you're listening to this podcast and you think, what are they guys talking about? That's a really good beer. let us know. We'd be fascinated to find out who exactly enjoys that beer other than one of Gaz's neighbours.
Yeah, other than Gemma, one of our neighbours who loves sour beers, and she says actually she could drink loads of it and she really enjoys it, which I find abhorrent.
Yeah, absolutely. So vinegar,
the second time we had it wasn't as bad. I think the first time it was like really gone off.
Yeah, I wondered that I wondered if it was a dodgy
Do you think that's
beer.
why the barman said, "Go on then, lads, I'll let you swap"?
That's
because he realised it was off.
About 4 years out of date. Yeah, let's see if these idiots will drink it. Might get them out of the bar.
Probably get them out of the bar.
So, do you think the third time we had it, Andy, you'd enjoy it? What about you, Gaz?
No.
Sure. Because there's a bottle there if you want to try.
Seriously?
I saw it was in the bar and I thought, Duchess de Bourgogne.
Whether or not I've spoilt my palate by drinking Asahi now.
No, actually, to be honest, when I picked it up, I thought I'll wind you up on the podcast with it because I know how you feel about it. It was my cousin Bo when he comes over. There's a few beers he wanted to taste. That wasn't one of them. But I did say...
But you're going to make him taste
it? I did say, look, if you're going to taste some of the favourite beers that we talked about on the podcast, then you're going to have to try the worst one we've tasted.
That was... I wouldn't have been able to taste it because my palate's been spoiled. So
That's it. I'm not sure I'll be able to taste that because this one is a powerful beer, and I tell you what, it is a good one. I know Andy likes a whiskey barrel-aged beer, don't you, dude?
Skin, I think.
I was just going to say, just whiskey and beer. Forget the barreled and anything else. Just whiskey, beer.
Keep an eye out for this one, dude. You'll love it. You'll love this one. Now, this week's topic, we said we're going to talk about weird beers. So weird flavourings in beers, weird ingredients used in beer, certainly vinegar, as it appears to be used in Bourgogne, the Duchess de Bourgogne, sorry, would be an unusual tasting beer. So who wants to kick it off with an unusual tasting beer that they've had in the past, or a beer with an unusual ingredient in it?
I just having a quick look at this. I haven't tasted this, and it's the Big Ass Money Stout is the name of by Evil Twin, and it's flavoured with Hawaiian pizza and money, and effectively the money is banknotes. So they flavour it with like Hawaiian pizza, which is pineapple.
It is pineapple.
So straight away for me, that's like, yeah, I'm not sure, but the Hawaiian pizza,
frozen Hawaiian pizza, that one as well,
and banknotes,
Norwegian banknotes. I don't know if that makes a difference.
I don't know. I've genuinely got no idea. But that was interesting, and I'm not quite sure what that would taste like. So that would be my first offering. Obviously, there's a couple more on the list, but Andy's looking all pensive there. Come on, Andy, share one with us then.
Go on that sort of flavour tone. This one's called, it's a beard beer. So Oregon's Rogue Ale's beard beer is made of yeast grown in master brewer John Mayer's beard. To start the joke, he tested his beard hairs, and then he found this like yeast in it, so they added that to the beers. And apparently, it gave off a pineapple-y flavour.
Oh, there you go. He's obviously been eating pineapple pizza and picking pineapple on his pizza, rather.
It's weird because I thought you were going to go down, and there's one that's called Odious Ale by the 40-foot brewery, and that was of all the places to find yeast, it was a Roald Dahl's writing chair.
See, that one interested me.
Yeah, you see, we've obviously looked at the same list. Yeah, so you.
I think so.
As well.
Yeah. but two things strike me out those two ones. First of all, that in itself has a little bit of a history because Roald Dahl himself, other than being an author, was quite a character, wasn't he? He was in the parachute regiment, which in itself was unusual because he was 6'6". So you know what I mean. I can tell you from myself, I've done a parachute jump, and they weren't very keen to have somebody who's 6'5" strapped to one of their guys leaping out of a plane. You know, they did question it at first, and I nearly got away with not having to do with it. But the other one that strikes me about that is because Andy, you're trying to make your own beer as well, aren't you soon? Would that be a source of yeast for yourself?
No.
What you're going to his beard? Or
his beard, your beard, yeah. Well, let's start with the beard and move on to the chair afterwards if necessary.
Everyone's a bit of Andy in them.
That's a slogan.
And that's a strap line.
That's a slogan for a t-shirt, that is. But if you could actually cultivate something from that rather fine beer, would it taste of ginger?
Bet it tastes of whiskey.
Bit of whiskey, bit of meat.
All the things that Andy stands for. You got a bit of whiskey, you got a bit of beer, a bit of meat in there somewhere.
That's it. I'll tell you then, we take a step away from some of these unusual beers which we haven't tried, and I'll tell you some strange flavoured beers which I have had. So in the opening bit of news there, I talked about hemp flavoured beer. Well, while I was in Amsterdam, I picked up a beer called X-Mark Cannabis Beer, which not only has the CBD but also has the THC in it. Okay. And it's a 5% beer, so it wasn't no alcohol. And it is one of the worst tasting beers I've ever had. It tasted like it had been overly hopped, because hops and cannabis are actually from the same genus of plants. I don't know if you knew that. If you look at them, actually, they don't look too similar, do they? But the beer itself, honestly, it was absolutely vile. I don't think you could get high off it, because I think you'd have to drink a few cans, and there's a good chance I'd puke before I finished them. It was that bad.
Yeah, no, I haven't tried it. I suppose the overly hoppy, almost like, I suppose, like overly ripe fruit. It's like an overly hoppy beer. It's just a bit like, actually, it's just not very pleasant. It's like an off taste. Do you know? It's weird.
I imagine it'd be like trying to eat a joint, is what it tasted like.
Yeah, that's never good.
No, and there's a reason why people don't eat them. Yeah. Now, the other beer that I tried, and I had this one in America from our soon-to-be sponsors, I'm only joking, Budweiser. Budweiser do a beer, and I bought this, and I'll share a picture on our Twitter feed of me drinking it out of an oversized plastic football, as is the Vegas way. And it's a beer called Budweiser Chelada Picante, and it is a Clamato, which is spiced tomato juice and dried clam broth beer. So you mentioned, like, if your beer tasted of fish. This tasted of fish, dude. It was beer and fish and spicy tomato. Honestly, it's one of the worst things I've ever put in my mouth. And I once ate a sore sandwich in primary school.
Yeah, that doesn't inspire me to go out and try it.
Oh no, absolutely not. I'd be interested here if because it's got a really high rating on Untapped. People saying how good it is.
What about like a spicy beer? Because I know that there's like a sriracha infused beer, and I quite like the sound. I haven't tried it, but I quite like the sound of that.
Yeah, I like the idea of a spicy beer, because again, it's like when I talked about the ham and the marshmallow porter. If it's blended well, it could be interesting. Yeah. But if it just tastes like your beer's got a bit of Tabasco sauce in it, other hot sauces aren't available, then I'm not sure I'd be a fan of it. There was one, going back to that list, there was one called Ghostface Killer by Twisted Pine, which is made with ghost peppers. Yeah. That sounds a bit extreme.
You see, I wouldn't eat anything that means that you actually can't taste it and your mouth is just going to fall off because it's that hot. And then similarly, why would you drink something that actually you lose the flavour of the drink because it's just so hot? I don't get that.
Doesn't appeal.
I'm sure there are some people out there that it will appeal to, and if any of our listeners have tried one, go on, Andy, what are you going to say then?
I was just trying to think. I think we've had a spicy beer in Craftworks, but it wasn't obviously like, red hot.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a spicy aftertaste to it. I'm sure it was in Craftworks. I was trying to Google it then, but I couldn't really see what I was thinking of. I think we had it in a pint glass and not in a bottle or anything like that.
Right. So it was on tap.
Just so that there's a 67.5% beer, the Snake Venom one, which I'm not quite sure whether that is apparently the strongest beer that you're going to.
Again, no,
I don't know.
I
wouldn't drink anything that strong.
No, I don't know. I don't know that really. I mean, obviously, it is a beer. It's brewed in the same way that a beer is, like we said last week about those beers.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily quantify that as a beer. One beer that we did mention last week that you said, would we try it? Because we tried coffee beer. I have picked myself up.
Is that the tea beer?
It's not the one you mentioned.
Ah, right.
But yeah, it is Blue Lady Pale, which is a
tea infused.
It is a tea infused beer, which has a taste. It's made by a beer which is added with Edinburgh Tea and Coffee Company's Earl Grey, I think it is, and it's flavoured with grapefruit as well. There you go. So I've got that one to try after this. So that's why, if you're wondering why I had a second glass out,
because you didn't want to take the glass.
I thought this might be a little bit strong tasting. So I'm not a fan of tea, so I'll put that one in my mouth and I'll see how.
Yeah, interesting. Like I say, interesting that when we're talking about weird beers, I actually thought, well, you could have gone back to last week because tea and beer.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a natural blend.
No,
to me,
like coffee does.
Yeah, with a stout or a porter or something like a dark
tea,
beer.
not sure. So we'll wait. We'll wait for the live taste test.
Indeed. But before we do, there was one beer, Andy. I remember I'd seen it in a shop. I didn't buy it, and I don't know why I didn't. That you said your pal Clive had tried, which was garlic beer.
Yeah. I
You said
it was, but
yeah. Well, it's made from a garlic farm on the Isle of Wight called Black Garlic Beer, and it's made by the people who do Yates's, and they do that, and it's 4.1%, and it is flavored with garlic. I can't imagine that would taste good, but Clive said he really quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, it must be like it must have an aftertaste to it, like a slightly garlicky one. But yeah, I know I'd have one, but I won't be kissing my missus with it afterwards.
Yeah, I don't
well, maybe this one, Andy. If you're not going to kiss your missus after a garlic beer, what about a sheep dung smoked whale testicle beer?
That sounds disgusting.
It's some sort of Icelandic beer, and it's 3 testicles per barrel, and it's sheep dung infused effectively. And you're just like I just can't imagine why anybody. Yeah, why? What? At what point do you go? I know what we'll do. We'll get some whale testicles, and then just to make it just that added extra bit of flavour, we'll just infuse it with some sheep dung, and we'll smoke it with sheep dung. Don't get it.
Here's the thing, though. You say 3 whale testicles per barrel.
How big's a barrel?
Oh, I was going to say those bad boys are going to be quite large, aren't they?
Well, yeah, apparently. Process though, because you use like fish guts and stuff, don't you, in a normal beer? I wonder if they do something with the testicles or
fish guts are used a lot in the refining process, aren't they, to make it a more refined beer and to take other stuff out of it.
Yeah, but
something I overlooked when I was vegetarian quite frequently.
Yeah, so I'm not. I don't quite see me tasting that one anytime soon, if I'm honest. But
there's certain foods though in Iceland which they'll eat, like sheep's face and shark, which has been fermented in the ground.
Well, they did say the whale testicle and sheep dung smoked beer should be eaten alongside equally suspect sounding local delicacies such as cured sheep head and rotten shark.
Oh my God.
What a lovely 3-course meal you've got there going on your plate.
To be honest, if you're going to drink the beer, it's going to make you ill anyway, so you might as well double down on that, haven't you?
Well, just go the whole hog. You know what? I want to go there, and I want to sample everything that you have. I want to indulge myself in all of the local delicacies.
Oh, Iceland.
Yeah, and then they put that in front of you, just like, not sure.
Well, then there's another one. Then I think you suspect you'll have seen, which has got equally unpleasant ingredients, and it's by Norderbrow, and Norderbrow Biggers, and I will pronounce that wrong, so I apologise to any Danes listening. Pilsner. Did you see it? Basically Pilsner without the N in it, and it is made with 50,000 gallons of human piss, which was collected at a festival.
Yeah, I saw the same thing, and I was just like, it said something like, if you've been to a festival and you've had a piss, then your piss has probably been used in beer. And I was like, no.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow, really?
Why? Who buys that?
Really?
Who buys it?
I don't know.
I mean, if it's not bad enough that the Danes went to knock Wales out of the Euros, they're then pissing in your beer.
Although there is completely, this is the left turn, but there's a clip on YouTube of a festival. And there's a female presenter, and then this guy just rocks up in the background. I don't know whether he realises it's a urinal trough or what, but he basically just starts washing his face in it. Yeah. And then the woman's face just turns around, she's like giving it like, what? And then basically the camera's like zooming, and he's just like, you're just like, dude, come on, mate.
Yeah, that is shocking. That is one of the more shocking viral videos.
And just remind me, you mentioned the festivals. I was just like, yeah, that ain't good. So what's the weirdest one that you've tried then, Andy? Can you think of one? What's the weirdest sort of flavoured beer and stuff?
I've tried a few going to beer festivals and stuff like that. So I can never keep up with the names. But
Yeah.
I've had a tea beer before, and it was just weird. It felt dead light, like tasting and stuff. I'm not too sure.
It's weird because I don't remember any any of the ones that we've mentioned tonight, any majorly bad ones, but just some you go to like beer festivals and it could be an infused beer, it could be a fruity beer, it could be and you just think, yeah, it's a bit weird. It's like some sort of honey glazed sort of beer, and you're a bit like, yeah, he doesn't like smell it.
No, it smells of tea, dude. I don't like tea. That Clamato
that's
one.
Okay, that smells alright.
You probably drink tea there, don't you? That Clamato one was the worst one I've tasted with the fish, the clam water in it. It's just on earth?
What was the one that it was on the list? Was it the oyster stout, which the Porterhouse Brewing Company? I think it's basically just a pint stout, and then they have like an oyster clam that sits on top of it. And I don't know whether you meant to like down the oyster and then drink it. I don't know, but basically, yeah, it's sort of fair there. So, and it just sits on top of it. So I don't know whether they infuse it or whether you meant to have it like.
I'd be okay with that.
One after each other.
I quite like oysters.
Not for me.
Yeah, I do.
You got oysters, Andy?
I'm not a big fishy person.
I'm not a big fan of fish, but I am a big fan of shellfish, and I do enjoy oysters. And I made oysters, which I deep fried in a beer batter once, and I tell you what, they were fantastic. Way better than having them raw, if I'm really honest.
So raw oysters are chucked directly into the conditioning tank to make this popular Irish oyster stout, and it's delicious. Thankfully, the beer doesn't taste like a mouthful of oyster juice. Instead, the oysters leave behind a subtly salty, sweet taste. So there you go. So I'm not. I don't mind a stout. But what's that like then, dude?
If I'm honest, dude, it's really quite pleasant.
Is it?
I can taste the tea, but it's a pale ale. So again, I'm not a big fan of pale ales. I do like them to be flavoured with things, normally not tea, if I'm honest. Like I say, it's Blue Lady Tea Blend from Edinburgh Tea and Coffee. It's rated 3.65 on Untapped, and it is a floral tea with grapefruit oil and marigold flowers.
Okay.
So already, the sort of things you don't want to be reading on the back of a can.
Yeah, not necessarily. But to be fair, when I did a little bit of the smell test, it smelled okay.
I'm okay with that because I think, to be honest with you, the flavour I get more than the tea is the grapefruit, and I'm fine with that.
Okay, yeah, it's good.
So one of the things I looked at when I was looking at these things, I was thinking there are a few things which would be an unusual flavouring for a beer. I wonder if there is a beer that exists. So one of the ones I thought is Turkish Delight. I love Turkish Delight.
I don't mind Turkish Delight.
I like the chocolate coated stuff, so the stuff that Fry's produce.
Yeah, others are available.
Yeah, a lot of them from Turkey. And I had a look, and there is a Turkish Delight beer, and it's made by, and we mentioned them already tonight, Evil Twin Brewing. And it's a 6% beer, and it's a brown ale which is brewed with coffee and green cardamom. And one of the criticisms of it, which is strange for a 6% beer with those sort of contents, that it was a bit thin, which I thought was unusual. But it is a beer I'd really like to taste. Because
I'd like to taste that.
I love Turkish Delight.
So go on then, Andy. So I'm going to put you on the spot now. What we're talking about weird beers and weird flavours and stuff. Is there something that you've sort of thought or you've read, you think, actually, you know what, I'd love to, like Adam just said there, you sort of Turkish Delight. Is the one that you would say, I'd love to see that in a beer?
Well, the things I like, meat, chocolate, they've all been in beers. I've had them. Maybe just more whiskey beers. That'll do me.
Any type of whiskey.
Yeah, well, like, obviously I've got a wide section of whiskey, but I've had like Tatton Brewery's Viper with the Hay Club whiskey in it. It's beautiful. Beavertown Luke Lloyd's with a shot of wild turkey whiskey.
Just as an aside, Tatton Brewery's Viper tastes just fine without the whiskey. It's a really good beer.
It's good beer.
It just gives it that extra. Because right. We eating earlier at tea, and I said to Jenny and the girls, I was like, what's the weirdest sort of flavoured drink you? And they couldn't think of one. And I thought, actually, I looked down at the plate and I thought, lamb and mint sauce.
Oh.
And then I thought, would it just be like drinking mint sauce? I thought, could you get the balance? And I wasn't quite sure whether it would be like a stouty or a hardened ale, and I was just a bit like, oh, could you get that minty? Because obviously mojito you get mint and you get mint flavored, but I thought, could you do that or not? And that was just one thing that I just thought, I don't know, because obviously Andy likes his meat and he likes his beer. So is that something you'd try, Andy?
I'm not sure on the mint part. I think that.
Yeah.
Do you think it'd be too overpowering? Do you think?
That's what I thought when he said it. The lamb probably wouldn't be great, but mint and beer, it's like cleaning your teeth and having a pint of Carling. It's you're not going to enjoy it.
Which? Oh, am I just doing all this stuff?
Yeah.
But do you not think if as long as you got the balance absolutely right and it wasn't just like mint sauce, I don't know. It just a hint of mint. I'm a poet. I just don't know it.
Lovely.
I don't know. And I was like, oh, I wonder what flavour. I thought like lamb and mint sauce. Don't know.
Yeah, I can't say.
Whether it worked, I don't know. If there's anyone out there that's ever tried it, let us know.
If anybody knows of a lamb and mint flavoured beer,
or just a slightly mint, not a pep, just a slightly mint flavour, because I genuinely think you could get it right.
What about this one then, Andy? A chocolate and mint flavoured beer?
No. Well,
that's
probably doable.
You could. That's doable because you could do it almost like a chocolate orange. You could do a chocolate orange flavoured beer.
I've had a chocolate orange flavoured beer.
Works, I suspect.
Wasn't a fan.
Oh, you know.
No. Again, but you could
hit us up if you're out there.
It was orange essence, and I think you could taste the fact that it was an essence.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It had an oily taste to it.
Right. But I wonder whether that could work. Like a chili and a chocolate. You can do chocolate with lots of things, couldn't you?
Oh yeah.
And put it in a. But I did think like just weird flavors. I thought mint, maybe.
Roast lamb and mint beer, and there is one.
Is there?
Yeah, it's on the Untapped website. But the latest creation uses roast potatoes, carrots, peas, and kumara in the mash.
Oh dear.
You see, I wouldn't say go whole hog lamb dinner sort of thing, but maybe lamb and mint. But
mint, sage, roast lamb.
What does it get on Untapped then? Is it
1.94?
I think that's about the lowest entry I've seen on there.
Yeah, we won't be trying that then.
No,
not anytime soon.
No. What percentage is it? Just out of interest.
4.3.
Oh, yeah.
I tell you one thing I did search after that. After my search for Turkish delight, I thought, well, here's one then. I'll find something that is an unusual thing that I only heard about 5 or 6 weeks ago when I was watching a children's television program with my kids, and they were making it was a Filipino presenter, and he was making a bibinka, which is a Filipino cake. It's made with rice flour, and Matilda was fascinated by it, so she said, we've got to make it. So we went out, we bought the rice flour, we made it, and you're going to love this cake, guys, because it's a rice flour cake topped with cheese and pineapple. So the worst features of a pizza added on top of a cake. I've got to be honest, I really enjoyed it, and it was fantastic. I thought there surely can't be a bibinka cake, a bibinka beer out there.
And there is.
No. There is. It is made, I don't know who made it, but it's a creme brulee latte, bourbon barrel aged imperial stout, and it's called bibinka because it tastes like a bibinka. And Andy, you're going to enjoy this one, dude. It's 15%. That one.
Say no more.
It ticks all the boxes. It ticks all the boxes for me. That one does a really strong stout with those flavours.
You say creme brulee? Yeah.
See, funnily enough, actually, when I was thinking, well, how would you do that? What beers have I had that you could mix together and give it that sort of taste? So with that hint of pineapple, you obviously need a pineapple beer. But I was thinking a creme brulee stout or a creme brulee. That's the way I'd go. Yeah. Like the creme brulee that Beartown do. Something like that with a beer. You pinch a pineapple in there and just
Forget the pineapple.
It's essential. It is absolutely essential
just,
on a
really
burrito.
is it?
So what would be the weirdest thing then? What would be the weirdest? So obviously lamb and mint is up there. See, I was thinking pot noodles. Do someone you no, hear me out there. But they're in that handheld. Dude, you're a fan of the noodle. I know you are. I'm not against them myself. But if you could do those in the can with that pot noodle, that's a crossover beer that not necessarily needs to happen.
I don't know.
Beef and tomato. I like
a chicken and mushroom.
I'm not a fan of mushrooms, if I'm honest. But like, the curried flavours, I don't know about that. The Bombay Bad Boy. That might tie in what we were talking about earlier.
Look, I mean, throughout however many episodes we've done, and I'm sure in the future we'll talk about lots of flavoured beers and likes and dislikes. There are some things that just shouldn't be used for beer, and obviously there's lots of things that you could. Pineapple being one of the things you shouldn't. But pot noodle, not sure.
No, well, yeah, some of that with lemon mint, and that's been done. I can see Andy beavering away googling trying to find a pot noodle beer.
I didn't know. I was just double checking my list, see if I had it on there.
So what would be one that you would try then, Andy? I know you mentioned sort of whiskey and stuff, but is there any sort of out of left field flavour that you think, oh, you know what, even if it's, I just wonder?
Well, I've seen one on a list of bacon and maple syrup.
Bacon again.
Bacon keeps going on, doesn't it?
But then there's also a milk beer in Japan, I think.
Oh, milk beer.
Yeah, they had a big, they had loads of milk and they couldn't sell it all or something like that, so they started making beers out of it. It's 30% beer, 30% milk.
All right. No.
Yeah.
If you've got a lot of milk, Lucky Charms. It's the way forward. Interesting enough, you can get a Lucky Charms flavoured beer.
I was going to say, yeah.
You can get a Lucky Charms flavoured beer.
It's weird because years ago, I say years ago, you go down the boozer and you'd have an ale, you'd have a lager. There's none of these like coffee, marshmallow, cake flavoured. None of that, was it? It's literally just like, there you go. I'm having me beer. I'm having me ale.
Funnily enough, I can remember when we were younger, and so we're going back to maybe 20 years, and there was a beer which was hobnob flavoured beer. So it probably just tasted a little bit of oats. And our good friend Mark Hollifield actually once said, I wouldn't mind a pint of that. And we still to this day call him Hobnob. He never even tried it. He just said he might try it. To this day, because the idiots we called him Hobnob.
Yeah. But it was, back in the day, you got effectively your traditional bitters. I mean, we growing up, I don't know what you're like, Annie, but you're probably a bit younger than us, so maybe not. But you grew up and you have you'd have your Worthingtons, or you'd have your Theakstons, or whatever, or you'd have your proper hand pulled sort of just basically bitter, and then you'd have not even any of the craft stuff that obviously is now popular now. You literally would just have Foster's, Garling. You might have a couple of more highbrow, sort of slightly stronger. But back in the day, you'd never think they'd be marshmallow flavoured.
But it's a good thing though, isn't it? That it's there.
Oh, variety is a spice of life, isn't it? You know what I mean?
And if I'm in the bar and I'm seeing something like that, I'm much more likely to have a pint of that than something else. Because I've never had it before. It's
weird, because I think going down to London, drinking with Andy and stuff, it's all, we'll go into this place, we'll try this, we'll try that. I think my beer repertoire when we're out has probably got better into, I'll give that a go, Whereas, historically it'd be right, I'm just going to drink Garling or whatever we go out, which is crap in it. So, but I think this, trying different things, and look, ultimately you go back to what you like, but trying different things. And I think I would try mint infused beer. I think I would.
Oh, I would, but I'd probably regret it. That doesn't sound good at all. Of all the things that have ever come out of your mouth, that's one of the worst ideas you've
honestly,
ever had.
I think it not overly minty, just a hint.
No.
I'm not quite sure what type of beer you go down, but I think it would have
to be Well, maybe if you did it as a pale ale with a very light peppermint tea.
Maybe. It definitely have to be maybe.
I think
and look at him. He's got the Google face on again. Look at him.
He's chuttering away. He has no idea he's on mute either.
He's got the Google face on him. Look at him. He's definitely found something there.
Go on, say it now. You're not on mute.
Yeah, I've unmuted that. There might be a mint beer, an IPA with 50-50 blend of peppermint and spearmint.
Oh dear.
See?
I mean, they are the two best mints.
Are there any others?
Double mint.
Go on then, Andy. Go on, give us a bit of it. What does it say then?
I think it's just looking at it. Looks like it's just a brewing your own stuff.
Oh, okay. Right, okay.
Way of adding it in. Could be interesting.
Interesting. Yeah.
See, not so harebrained.
I don't know. The fact that it's not commercially produced suggests it might be.
Actually, the fact that that's not commercially produced, whale testicles and sheep dung infused is. That's maybe.
If whale testicles are ahead of your idea on the list, you've had a bad one.
Yes, that's a bad one. Time to get your coat. See you later.
Time to get your coat. Come on. So that pretty much takes us up to the hour mark there on a more unusual ideas that we've had about different beers. So go on, as we close out then, let's hear about one last beer, one last pitch, one last idea from anybody. Who wants to go first?
Well, I've just thrown mine out there. I say mint. Yeah. I'd love to see. I'd just love to see if it would work. It works in softer drinks. It works in cocktails. It works in juices. So I'd just love to see if it would work in beer.
There was one beer actually that was very heavily advertised and nigh on impossible to get hold of around about Easter time, and it was made by Goose Island. I'm guessing Andy knows. I know you'd sent me a couple of links to it, and that was Goose Island's cream egg beer, which was in very limited edition. And then, interesting enough, there are no entries on Untapped about it. So I question whether it actually exists. Tastes of cream egg, dude.
But is that not just chocolate?
No, because it's got that.
So what's the flavour?
The stuff in the middle. What?
Which is what?
It's like a fondant, isn't it? Like a sweet fondant in the centre. You must have had a cream egg.
Oh yeah, I've had a cream egg. It's just chocolate, isn't it?
It's not just chocolate. It's got that sweet muck in the middle.
Look at these face. So, but what? I know it's got that.
75 episodes. We're going to fall out on the contents of a cream egg.
No, but I know it has that soft fondant scent, but what actually is that flavour? Because
well, if I had the beer, I'd be able to tell you. I couldn't get my hands on it.
Andy, Google what flavour the fondant of a cream egg is, because to me it's just chocolate.
Andy's a big fan of cream eggs now, so don't.
I don't mind cream eggs. No. I don't mind them, but they're just chocolate, aren't they?
I don't think so, because it's got that sweet fondant. And whether the white tastes different to the yellowy yolk is open for debate. But I would say it's not just chocolate. But Goose Island, anyway.
Right, okay, go back to the
yeah. They did a Cadbury's cream egg beer, and it had like those wonderful sort of Cadbury colours on the can as well. So it was obviously done in conjunction with them. I would like to try it just to see, mainly just to see if it tastes like a cream egg. But so now I'm starting to question what they actually taste
exactly,
like.
You see. So what actually does that fondant taste like? Is it just, I don't know.
I don't know. Fondant, as in the smooth, thick icing that you get on wedding cakes. It's that stuff.
There you go.
Okay. All right, mate.
It's not really answered the question, has
not
it?
Really.
Thick icing. There you go.
That's it. Yeah, that'll do.
So if you're going down, Easter, do you go down to Christmas and you do some sort of mulled wine? Or is that just mulled wine? Do you put some mulled?
That's got legs. Actually, that idea as a mulled, not necessarily a mulled beer, but a mulled wine in beer.
That's what I'm saying.
Combine that, because that's not a million miles away what I've been drinking tonight. Yeah. It wasn't particularly mulled; it was more port, but it's still only a pinch away.
Do you go down that route?
And interesting enough, that's how I can still taste it.
You drunk off of that one.
I think that's what's making this tea one more palatable.
Yeah. Drink that one on its own. It's like, no, I don't like this.
Yeah, that's it. I'm not sure about that. What about yourself, Andy? Any final pitches? Any ideas?
I was thinking of a wine one, but I'm sure I've had one that's been aged in a red wine.
Mm-hmm. Wasn't the Red Ryan beer you talked about last week? Was that done in a red wine barrel?
Yeah.
Cool. So we'll wrap this episode up then. And more importantly, if anybody out there can tell us what a Cadbury's cream egg is actually flavoured with, we'd be grateful, wouldn't we?
I'd be delighted to find out.
Absolutely. Go on, anyone wants to say their goodbyes first?
Didn't quite expect when this episode started that the last thing we talk about was the flavouring of a cream egg. Talk about a bit of a left turn, to quote sort of Tiddy and Shiny. We're going to have a few left turns, and that's definitely one of them. But yeah, honestly, hit us up if you've ever tried any of the beers that any of us have sort of spoken about. If you've got any harebrained, wacky ideas about sort of beer and infused flavourings or whatever, give us a shout at all the usual sort of social media outlets. Yeah, I enjoyed it again. Had a bit of a hoot. Enjoyed watching Adam drink some tea infused beer or whatever it is. So yeah, until the next time, that's me done, boys.
Andy?
Yeah, hope people enjoyed it and want to try some more Boilermakers.
Hey, maybe that's something we'll do on a future episode, just for Andy's sake. We'll do Boilermakers, so whatever beer. I know Gaz isn't a massive fan of whiskey.
It's rich in the beer, it's fine. Not on a work night, though.
No, not on a work night, no. We'll figure something out when we record that. We'll record that one during the summer. Maybe when we're all sat around the table together, who knows?
That'd be good.
Yeah, again, I've enjoyed this one. Love to hear from people. If anybody's drank a beer with any of the different flavours, and it's particularly the whale testicle one, I'd like to hear about that. If you've tried it, and it could be the best thing you've ever put in your mouth. But if it is, I'd question the other things you've had before it. But until next time, when no doubt we'll have plenty more stuff to talk about. Take care.